Kind of hard to keep up with, but you're always welcome to join us here on the Rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeart Radio app. I've got my 10 games that are non-con games that I think are going to kind of shape the season. We'll get into that. But speaking of which, with Kentucky, you mentioned the things that happened there, and I got to give you some of these things. I read some of this earlier, and it kind of made me stop and think for a second. The stuff with Kentucky, here's the deal. Is there a culture problem with Kentucky? Their wide receivers coach, Javon Balknight, had a DUI charge dismissed last week after pleading guilty to driving 25 miles an hour over the speed limit and possession of an alcohol beverage in a vehicle. Dan Berezowicz, Stoops' chief of staff, was arrested in June and charged with beating up his wife. The misdemeanor charge was dismissed this week due to a lack of evidence of injury and his wife's desire not to prosecute him. Balknight is back with the team, the wide receivers coach is, but Berezowicz remains suspended. Yeah, you have to ask what the deal is with Kentucky. I honestly don't know. But look, when things like that are happening, if you remember, I remember like when Vanderbilt started catching issues with James Franklin. Remember that? And then all of a sudden it came back. All right, well, maybe this is kind of the way that things are going to go. And then all of a sudden they start playing well, and then James Franklin leaves. I'm not saying Coach Stoops is going to leave, but we shall see. We shall see. Shout out to the folks watching online today. We appreciate you guys as always. I've got 10 non-conference games that I'm looking at here that I think are going to kind of shape the season. I thought I'd throw these at you. In addition to that today, Nick Saban's talking about college football playoff expansion. Yeah, he may not be completely in favor of it. Mac Brown says mega conferences are coming. And then we've got a full look at the ACC today and some things that I look at that may be surprising for you. So we'll get into that here on the Rundown. As always, you're welcome to join the show at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Now, these non-conference games that I'm looking at, yes, I know that we have Clemson, Georgia at the beginning of the season. Now, these are games that are kind of under the radar a little bit. The Clemson-Georgia matchup is going to determine a lot, in my opinion. The tone with some Georgia fans is that, we had Beg and Megan call up, what was it, yesterday, and said, hey, it's just a lot of doom and gloom as far as so many injuries. It seems like it happens every year. Yeah, I don't know about all that. I'm in the camp of you line up with what you got. I look at Alabama last year. What was the national championship game they played? They played without the Heisman Trophy winner in the second half, and they played without Jalen Waddle in the second half, and they still won. They still outscored Ohio State. So there's that. Line up with what you got, and I fully believe in the whole recruiting end of it. I fully believe in the whole recruiting end of it. And what I mean by that is that if you recruit as well as Georgia has, you better have somebody as a backup and ready to go across the board. Yes, I know there are 5-star players. Yes, I know that that's tough to deal with. But in the end, you should have enough. All right, let's look at some of these non-conference games because we're going to have plenty of time to talk about Georgia and Clemson. That's got to be, in my opinion, that might be the biggest non-con game of the year right now, realistically. Here are some other games. Number 8, Cincinnati, a top 10 team, plays at number 17, Indiana. I think that's in the AP rankings. So, there are some people that thought that Cincinnati probably should have been in the college football playoff last year. They went 9-0. I'm not completely buying that, but this should be an interesting matchup on September the 18th. 2 top 25 teams, in my opinion. Cincinnati has to have this game, or in my opinion, because they have one other game that will draw some eyes, and that's the Notre Dame matchup. They got to go on the road twice in this period of 2 weeks and play Indiana and Notre Dame back to back, and that's just tough. Louisville and Ole Miss on September the 6th. You know, Scott Satterfield is he's kind of overcooked his grits. That's kind of the term my grandmama used to use when you kind of wore out your welcome a little bit. That's kind of what he's done. And in my opinion, he needs a good season. And one way to get it started is to win at Ole Miss. It's not at Ole Miss. I think this is at a neutral site. Anyway, they need that win. Louisville, if they want to get any sort of respect heading into the season, they need to win over Ole Miss. Now, on the other hand, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, they want to stomp your face. They really, really do. So we'll see how that shakes out. That's an interesting matchup. Iowa at Iowa State. You know, it's a rivalry matchup up in Iowa. And Iowa should be a team that could contend for the Big Ten this season. And then Iowa State, there's lots of talk that they could be a potential dark horse to make the CFP. So that matchup is really interesting. Louisiana and Texas. Yeah, here's my favorite thing with this matchup. The line on this game, it started at 16.5 points. Now you can get it at 9. So somebody in Las Vegas knows something. Somebody in Las Vegas definitely knows something. Louisiana and Texas on September the 4th. Texas A&M will play Colorado on September the 11th in Denver. You know, that's kind of like one of those old, Big 12 matchups? That'll be interesting. UCLA welcomes in LSU, the first game of the season. You know, if you look at it, LSU, I think, is like a 4-point favorite, something like that, according to Las Vegas. Imagine this. You are a team with a brand new defensive coordinator. You have you just figured out who your quarterback was going to be. And you're going to have to travel across the country to play someone else, another Power 5 team at home. Good luck, LSU, because guess what? If you don't win that game, the seat under Coach Orgeron is probably going to be set on fire quickly. Auburn plays at Penn State on September the 18th. I think that's a very interesting matchup because Coach Harsin is trying to make his mark out there in the SEC West. If you lose to a Big Ten team, the folks down in Birmingham are going to laugh at you hysterically. I also like the Pitt-Tennessee matchup. Tennessee trying to overcome what the sanctions that are heading their way for McDonald's Gate. Every time I think about Tennessee, I think about McDonald's. And I'm a chunky guy, man. Love some McDonald's. But Tennessee, the whole McDonald's debacle, they giving recruits money. I wonder if it was actually in bags or if they gave them like Happy Meal boxes. I'd give them Happy Meal boxes. Why not? Why not? Begging Megan online saying, I think your grandmother used to say overate your grits and she was talking to you. Sir, I don't need that kind of commentary from you. I need that kind of commentary from you. Just because I'm a chunky individual doesn't mean that I'm not a guy that can get after it. You want to go lift weights with me? Come on down, brother. I'll hurt your feelings. Anyway, 803-978-1832. It was overcooking your grits. Stayed too long. Wore out your welcome. But that Pitt-Tennessee matchup, Pitt's one of those teams. I've said it for a while now. They play pretty good defense. They want to run the football. Got a senior quarterback. Just saying. Tennessee better have their stuff together or they're going to take home an L. Also, this is the matchup that I want to see just because Scott Frost is a puss. I'll put that out on the air. I can say that on my show. People don't like it when I use that term when I come on the air for their show. Like if I do a radio hit with somewhere else and I use the term puss, they're like, we really don't like that language, sir. Really? Really? Well, put your mom to bed. Put your children to bed when I come on the air with you then, or just don't have me on. I don't think using the term puss is vulgar. But if you do use the term puss and you look it up in the dictionary, Scott Frost is in there with it. There's a picture of Scott Frost. He wanted out of this game with Oklahoma. We all are Oklahoma fans that day. We want Oklahoma to hang 50 points on Nebraska simply because they tried to duck it. I don't feel sorry for what's going to happen to Nebraska that day when they play on September the 18th against Oklahoma. They left the Big 12 to kind of get away from Oklahoma and Texas. I don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about it at all. Hang half 100 in the first half, and then we'll laugh the rest of the way. But that's some of those interesting matchups. One other one, Texas at Arkansas. If you're an Arkansas fan and you're listening to this program, if you don't have your entire stadium with the horns down symbol painted on stomachs and everything else down there, you're not a true fan. Remember, this is the Texas team that had it set up in the Big 12 where if you give the horns down as a player, you're going to get penalized. Man, they're not going to get away with that crap in the SEC. We know that. We say a lot of things about the SEC and the way that things are set up there. Yeah, try going and saying, hey, a hand symbol will get you penalized. They will laugh them out of the building. All right, more of the rundown when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. You might be right about Scott Frost. I think he's just a puss. We don't want to play. We don't want to play that game. Don't you? Don't you? Ugh. I'm not drinking my soda today. This is my supplement. Little protein stuff in here. Oh, I'm not worried about it. I've had people say worse things to me, man. The only time I really lost it on somebody is I got into it with some guy and he was messaging me on Twitter because I did something and my son is autistic and my son ended up in some bit that I was doing or something. And he said something about my son and I lost my crap and told him that if I see you, I'm going to hurt you because he made some snide remark about my son. And, you know, I lost my gizzards on that, which I shouldn't. Yes, it is Osterine, Alan. You want some Osterine? That's funny. I can deal with just about anything. If you're going to make fun of my disabled son, if I see you, I'm going to hurt your feelings. I'm going to knock you out. Hi, Beth. I've had people say just off the wall crazy stuff to me, but that's the one time that that really bothered me, and I shouldn't let anything said to me bother me. Shouldn't, and normally I don't, but that really got under my skin. The stuff isn't bad. I say that as I choke it down. You guys have a non-con game you're looking forward to besides the Clemson Georgia matchup? I really like that Pitt Tennessee matchup. Jimmy, New Alliance, Clemson, and Oregon, Wake, and Iowa. Yeah, that could be fun too. I'll answer your question when we come back here, Scott, or excuse me, SEC. It's a good thing y'all can't record my sound bites and bring them back to me, because the soundbite I'm going to drop in a minute would be played over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. SEC Dog asked a question that normally he gives me grief over there in the chat room, which you can find. Go to the Fox Sports Radio 1400 Facebook page. It's right there for you. He says, Rob, would you rather have Will Muschamp or Scott Frost at head coach if you had to choose one? Well, if you're telling me these are the only two coaches that you could possibly have, oh, man. I don't really like either one of them. We could run down the list of things. Georgia fans, someone calls Will Muschamp Special Agent Muschamp for destroying two SEC East programs. I'm definitely in that corner. Scott Frost doesn't understand when you're in the middle of a pandemic, you can't have extra practices when the NCAA tells you that you can't. You can't do that. He's too stupid to understand that. And he also doesn't want you to have a rivalry matchup with a program that you've had that's been your rival for decades. Megan says he'd forfeit the season. No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, he asked, it's a valid question. I would go with Will Muschamp. Don't isolate that clip, but I would probably go with Will Muschamp because at least Will Muschamp doesn't quit. He may be a complete failure, but he's not going to quit. Scott Frost is just like, oh, we got to play them. No, we don't want to play them. No, I don't want anything to do with that. At least Muschamp will strap up, and he may send his best quarterback out to play safety and end up with a running back there running the wishbone under Mike Bobo's instruction. If I have to take Mike Bobo too, I might lean towards Frost, but if not, I think I would go with Will Muschamp. That's kind of like a doomsday scenario. Let's talk about now. Like I took my wife a couple of it's been a while. We went to some Italian restaurant for our anniversary one time. And I'm just some dumb hillbilly. I admit that. Okay? I'm just some dumb redneck hillbilly. I'm doing this show today in a t-shirt that says Trash Panda on it because I'm enamored with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think my daughter is Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. And they refer to him as a trash panda. So I ordered a shirt that says Trash Panda with a raccoon on it. A pair of shorts and a pair of sandals and a baseball cap with a palmetto flag on it, or a palmetto tree on it. That's how I came to work today. I am a straight up hillbilly. I admit that. All right. My wife's got a little more class than I do. She wanted to go to this Italian restaurant or whatever. So we go to this Italian restaurant. This is like back when our first anniversary. And they had like the different courses of the meal or whatever. And after every course, they would give you like some sherbet to, quote, cleanse the palate so you could enjoy the next dish. Just saying. With that, let's cleanse our palate and talk about two coaches that I respect. And that would be Nick Saban and Mac Brown. Both of those have won national titles. The other two that we're getting rid of will never win national titles as a head coach. Anyway, Nick Saban, in an interview with ESPN, was asked about expanding the college football playoff. And here's what he said. I think you got to ask yourself a couple of questions about that. How important is it to have bowl games in college football? Because the bigger the playoff gets, the more bowl games are going to dissipate. How many games are really legitimate for kids to play? He's right about that. How are you going to prioritize the schedule? Because you could potentially play 17 games if we have 12 teams in the playoff. Are you going to play less regular season games? You're going to take out the SEC championship game and not have it. If you play 12 games, are you going to and have the SEC championship game? You could be looking at 17 games. Are you going to play games during dead week? Are you going to play games during finals week? You're going to play games during Christmas. A lot of questions that need to be answered. It's not that just a 12-team playoff is a good thing. You know what? If I were Nick Saban and in the position that he's in, and if I'm in the SEC, I'm saying the exact same thing. Why expand from 4? And I mean, I'm just being honest. Why expand from 4? I mean, I think that a lot of the matchups are, if you have 12 teams and you have like a 1-12 matchup, does anybody really want to see that? Just honestly, step back and think about it for just a second. Do you really want to see that matchup? I'm not completely into all of that. Not completely into all of that. I could see expanding to 8 teams, but here's the thing. I remember as a kid, like the year that South Carolina went to the CarQuest Bowl. It's like one of the better Gamecock teams, first Gamecock team to win a bowl game. I remember when they announced that the Gamecocks were going to that bowl game, that it was like the biggest thing ever. Now everybody goes to a bowl game. Everyone. There's too many bowl games. They've become part of our holiday festivities. And I think we have too many of them. They don't mean as much. I think bowl games should mean more. If you go 6-6, do you really think you should go to a bowl game? I mean, I'm serious. Clemson Dave online says, if your team is number 12, I mean, do you really think if you're the number 12 team in the BCS, or I say the BCS, in the playoff rankings, that we should consider you a viable contender to win the national title? Just don't think that makes any sense. I don't want to see a 1 versus 12 matchup. Let's go out to the phones. 803-978-1832. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, I really agree with you on the bowl games, way too many.
Mm-hmm.
They used to mean something. I remember when the Copper Bowl would come on, or the Blue Bonnet Bowl would come on.
The Blue Bonnet Bowl.
Something. Yeah, remember the Blue Bonnet Bowl?
The Blue Bonnet Bowl. Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that?
I remember that. I'm showing my age a little bit, but I remember
that.
Yeah.
But it actually meant something when it came on.
It did. Yeah, I mean,
and now with and now with, you know, the John Deere Bowl, and I mean, it just doesn't mean anything anymore. For me, if I miss them, it just doesn't even faze me anymore. I used to watch every one of them.
Yeah, but they would watch their team.
Yeah, they'll watch their team.
You'll watch your team. If your team's playing in the Duck Commander Bowl, you'll watch the Duck Commander Bowl.
Yeah.
Other than that, they're not so much.
No. But I mean, the bowls back then, it seemed like they were more tied in with the communities that they were in.
Right.
And now they're just here, there, everywhere. Just don't have the meaning that they used to have. I remember watching Army in a bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know, every single bowl, maybe, you know, you try to limit it to maybe the top 40 teams. That's still a lot of bowls.
Yeah, I can see that.
But that do something to where that they achieve something and then they actually want to go to it instead of, well, I want to opt out of it. I don't really want to go there.
All right, man. Well, hey,
I mean,
appreciate you calling with that, but you're right. The bowl games don't mean anything.
Go Blue Bonnet Bowl.
Blue Bonnet Bowl. Appreciate it, buddy. Have a good weekend. All right, let's go back out to the phones. Welcome in our next caller to the rundown. Good afternoon.
What's up, man? This is Clemson Tiger fan.
Hey, brother. Do you remember the Blue Bonnet Bowl?
No, I do not.
Well, you are too young for this conversation, sir. We're having old men yelling at the moon today. And if you're not going to yell at the moon and ask that the Blue Bonnet Bowl come back, I really can't help you today, sir. I tell you what, I will take your call and we'll feel whatever it is you want, but you got to promise me that you're going to go and Google the Blue Bonnet Bowl and learn something on the weekend, man. Can you do that for me?
Will do.
All right, now, what do you have for the program today?
I guess I know people talked about playoff expansion like so long for so long a couple of weeks ago or so when that was kind of hot. But I mean, I guess like just to kind of reiterate some things that I believed and heard. You know, I just don't think that there's more than 4 good teams that can win a national championship every year. You know, like if it expanded to 12, one of the top 4 would win it every year, with 5 or 6 winning. The number 5 or 6 maybe winning once every 10 years. That'll be the Alabama that happened to lose 2 games that year, you know, and they just ended up winning it probably.
Mm-hmm.
You might have the surprise team, but I mean, 10 years from now, the whole college football landscape could be totally different. So you don't know, but 5 or 6 would only win it like once every 10 years. And you'd have your, 12 just updated 5, because 1 and 12 wouldn't play, because if they had that system, you'd have to have,
You're right.
You'd have to have a bye week for 1 or 2, maybe even 3 and 4. Cause you've got to, if you've got to have some reward for getting in there and being a high seed. If not, then as long as we're in, it doesn't matter. So why not? We kind of get, I guess you want to be 1 so you can play 12, but then it's like, who cares where you're at, really? You got to have some reward. And like I thought, Uncle Lou said, I thought like a really good way. I wish you would only go to 6, maybe 8 would be okay, not 12. But like having the top 2, maybe 4, depending on how big it goes, have bye weeks, and then you get home field advantage for the higher seed. I think that would make it so awesome. Because
yeah, you're right, and it makes a lot of sense. But I tell you what, man, I've got a bunch to get to today, but I appreciate you calling, buddy. Make sure you Google the Blue Bonnet Bowl.
Will do. All right, you have a good one, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, one more call before we get out of here. And good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown.
Hey, Rob. I just kind of my idea in the whole situation. I don't think they should really expand the playoff that much.
Sir, do you know what the Blue Bonnet Bowl is?
No, I don't.
All right, you got to Google the Blue Bonnet Bowl when you get done here. It's an absolute gem. Anyway, but what you're calling about the playoff, what you got, man?
Well, dude, my whole thing is I saw these Coastal Carolina teams and these Liberty teams, these teams that just went undefeated last year. I thought they deserved a chance. So my whole thought, not necessarily they have the talent level as these Power 5 conferences, but they have an undefeated season. You deserve a shot at playing for the national championship in a way. I could see maybe a 5 or 6.
Well,
I could see the lowest.
Let me give you what you're saying makes sense. Okay, you deserve to play for a national championship. The Georgia Bulldogs but the Georgia Bulldogs last season, they finished, what was it? I'm looking at the final CFP rankings. They finished 9th at 7-2. They had a loss to Florida, a loss to Alabama. They get the best G5 team in the country, which is Cincinnati. Georgia played them with basically third-string offensive linemen, and they beat them. I mean, Alabama Nick Saban could have literally picked any score that he wanted and just ramrodded Cincinnati to the end of time. So I don't want to – that's not good for college football. Just because you think that you have to feel good at Cincinnati and Boise State and all these teams, I don't need to see that. And here's the other thing. If you're Alabama, and let's say Mac Jones is out there playing, and on a freak play, he gets injured, and your second-round matchup is with Clemson, and you got to go with your backup quarterback who's only thrown the ball 22 times all season, nobody wants to see that either. I want the absolute best teams in the playoff, and I'm not buying these G5 teams lining up with the Alabama.
You're right. That was a dumb thing to say.
Yeah, but it's not dumb, man. It's just what you feel.
My whole thought was just, you take your lowest seeded playoff team, and the very best group of 5 team plays the lowest seeded playoff team. It was kind of my idea and where I was going towards. Just so they get a chance. And at the very least, it shuts them up to the point where you don't have a UCF claiming a national championship.
Yeah, but let's be honest. In the land of actual smart people, which are the people that listen to this show and not other shows where they feed you the lies that maybe Central Florida had a shot. No, in the land of actual reality, which is the smart fans that listen to this show, they know that Central Florida didn't have, a pot to pee in, basically. They can claim anything they want. I can walk around claiming that I'm 6'8", but I'm not. At the end, I'm 5'10" if I'm lucky. So
LSU did a good job of shutting them up the year after, but
I don't. Them shutting up doesn't mean as much to me as having a good college football playoff.
That's right. You're right.
You're always welcome to call the program, sir.
Yeah,
man. Thank you.
Appreciate you taking my call. Thanks, sir.
No problem, man. All right, bye-bye. All right, quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you here on the Rundown. We're going to talk. I just looked something up. Yeah, we'll get into that in a moment. This is the Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. None of these people know about the Blue Bonnet Bowl. Blue Bonnet, man. It was like a Blue Bonnet was like a it was played at the Astrodome through 1984. That's funny. It was succeeded by the Houston Bowl. Oh, look at this. In 1959, Clemson played in the Blue Bonnet Bowl. They beat TCU 23-7. Blue Bonnet's like margarine, but it's like fake butter. I'm trying to see some of these other matchups. Alabama tied Oklahoma in 1970 in the Blue Bonnet Bowl. See some of these other ones here. The last Blue Bonnet Bowl was in 87. Georgia, you Bulldog fans, you played in the Blue Bonnet Bowl in 1978. Beggin' Megan was like 35 years old then. Old bastard. They played Stanford. You got beat by the Smart Kids. What the hell is all of that? Beggin' Megan's down there with his receding hairline in 1978, losing his mind. As the Smart Kids beat Georgia 25-22. That's funny. Mizzou beat Georgia Tech 14-10. Some of these matchups are pretty good. Texas shuts out Ole Miss 19-0. Colorado beat Miami 31-21. We need to have more Blue Bonnet matchups. When you guys lost to Stanford in 78, you were just sitting there thinking, oh, you just wait till 1981. Oh, you just wait. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. I looked up the Blue Bonnet Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. The Clemson Tigers, they played in the first Blue Bonnet Bowl. In 1959, they beat TCU 23-7. Some other interesting matchups. The Smart Kids from Stanford beat Georgia when they played in 1978, 25-22. The last Blue Bonnet matchup, it's now the Houston Bowl, by the way. It's now the Houston Bowl. Texas won over Pittsburgh 32-27. We need more bowls like this. All of the proceeds went to the Harris. It was played like in the Alamo Dome. Yeah, I mean, I think they've destroyed the Alamo Dome since then. But the reality is that they had the game there, and it went to help all the kids that are there. I interviewed one of the guys from the Orange Bowl up at ACC Kickoff, and the stuff that they do around the community is great. And a lot of bowls do stuff like that. I'm just saying, if my team is not playing in it, I think most people feel I'm not watching it. I will watch the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl because they give them like a jar of mayonnaise at the end of it. I mean, it's like one of those industrial-sized jars of mayonnaise you would get at like Sam's Club. Yeah, it's one of those things. So, hey, you guys go out there and you win that big jar of mayonnaise. We need that for New Year's Eve when Mama's making whatever it is you make with mayonnaise for our New Year's treats. Go out there and play hard, gentlemen. Go out there and play hard. Oh, goodness. I've got something here from Mac Brown. I got a little bit behind, so I'll take a quick break in a moment. But Mac Brown said something that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. You know, we had to cleanse our palate from where SEC Dog made me pick between two coaches that I would never have coaching my Pee-wee team. So we're talking about legendary coaches. Nick Saban says there's questions about the college football playoff. We'll take those calls at 803-978-1832. We could end up with 17 games. We don't think about that much. That's interesting. Longevity is important there, not getting injured. Yeah, it's tough when you think of it that way. But what Mac Brown said makes a lot of sense too. And I'll tell you about that when we get back. Of course, don't forget, podcast of this show will be up about 5 o'clock today. And you can check that out anytime you want over the weekend. Just look for the Rundown with Rob and however you get your favorite podcast. All right, more of the Rundown in just a moment. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Adams apple butter. They're great. They're right here in Lexington. I know the lady that does it and that makes the butter. It's outstanding. Go and look that up. AdamsAppleEatables.com. They used to sponsor the podcast a while back. You want like good fresh apple butter. There you go. You're exactly right, Show Memo. Oh, we don't want to play them. Man, at least Will Muschamp's like, line up, we'll play whoever. We'll get smoked. I'll yell afterwards. Hey, you guys want a funny Will Muschamp story, right? I'll give you a funny Will Muschamp story really quick here. So I have to get his postgame when he was the head coach. I had to get his postgame comments up for our postgame show, right? Well, last year, like generally, I download the comments and then get them where we can air them, okay? So I didn't listen to it. The first thing that comes out of his mouth is he says something about some play or whatever, and he goes, I don't give a shit. It's the right call. So we're not supposed to air that. So I put Will Muschamp cursing on the air, and I got a talking to about it. I was like, I didn't realize it because apparently some people got angry because Will Muschamp says, I don't give a shit. It was the right call. You can't say that. Yo, y'all over there making jokes about butter and stuff. Y'all know my chunky ass doesn't need that stuff. I'm up here drinking protein drink. Y'all over there talking about apple butter. What the hell's that all about? I'm in the middle of a break right now. I'm not feeding the airways. They make us take classes on all that. Like we're like, you realize that you cannot say things like that on the air. Yeah, I know. We can't say George Carlin's seven dirty words. I get it. Jimmy's talking about peanut butter cups. Damn it, Jimmy. Killing me, man. You guys are hilarious over there today. Fridays, like before football season, are tough for me, man. It's tough to get my head right to come in and do a show. But here lately, man, I've been loving Friday shows. I get jacked for Friday shows like during football season because we get to pick games. Looking forward to that. Final segment of the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I would tell you normally to go get into the chat room today, and they have great football knowledge. But apparently they're on a kick about apple butter, and they're talking about apple butter and applewood smoked bacon and everything else. So if you like apple butter and cookies and things like that, go check out the chat room on the Fox Sports Radio 1400 Facebook page there, and you can get into the comments that are over there. I mean, generally they like to talk about football over there, but today it's about apple butter. I myself, I can eat apple butter. Imagine that. You're like, yeah, We get it. You can eat just about anything, you chunky fool. We get that. But the reality is I like some apple butter. I don't have a problem with all that. Some of the stuff that they're talking about, man, there you go. Edwin helping out. Go to an 11-game regular season. Gets rid of one out of conference game. 13 to 16 games of the CFB season for playoff teams, 12-game season for bowl participants. Okay. I can buy that. Here's what Mac Brown said. He said that, quote, I think we're finally going to see the mega conferences that people have talked about for years. Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 2 sides of 16? Is it 2 sides of 10? You have 20 teams in a league, and then you have a championship. I don't think the 12-team playoff will probably fly with all these changes. I think that'll be pushed behind, and we'll start looking at it again. I'd like to see us go to 8 before going to 12. But I do think we'll see a group of super conferences in our lifetime. I worry about some of those teams that won't be included in that group. Thank goodness North Carolina is a global brand, and we've got a lot of great sports, and we're good enough in football and hopefully getting better, and we've been great in basketball, so I think we'll be included in whatever. But I hope that we see the ACC be one of those mega conferences. I know that the ACC would love to add Notre Dame, and that would help our brand. You, sir, are correct. If the ACC wants to get into the conversation of being one of these super conferences, they need to figure out what they're going to do with Notre Dame. And by the way, the SEC, you need to thank the SEC if Notre Dame does that, because it's going to, the idea that Notre Dame is going to sit out and be an independent forever is silly. Silly. Okay? They're going to have to join a conference. They're going to end up joining the ACC eventually. Before I leave this planet, they will be a football conference member of the ACC. I believe that. I believe that. So with that, we got to figure out who else would go over there with North Carolina. West Virginia is the obvious pick there. But I think we need to step back in time a little bit. Little Marty McFly action. Go and get Maryland. Maryland in the ACC just makes sense. Just makes sense. Let's see here. SEC Dog says, Rob says, quote, it's tough for me to get my head right. That is the most truthful thing I've ever heard him say. Bring in the facts for once. Well, thank you, sir. Thanks for using my own quotes here against me. I mean, it's not like I would ever do that to a Georgia fan. It's not like I would isolate a Georgia fan saying Kirby Smart's an idiot and continuously play that. It's not like I would do that to you. Come on, guys. Jimmy says I should stop kissing Notre Dame's butt. Nope. I'm not into all of that. I'm not into all of that at all. Let's see here. What else? Oh, Clemson Dave says we need an apple butter bowl. Well, why not? We've got every other bowl. The Boca Raton Bowl. That's the one that I look at and I'm like, what the hell is that? People are going to watch the Boca Raton Bowl. I don't want to watch that. Yeah, that's the mess that we've got there. But I kind of agree with what Coach Brown is saying. The idea that we may have 4 super conferences, that might happen. Might happen. Might end up with 16 teams in each conference. And by the way, I don't know if people if from the Big 12 can hear me, but the idea of the Big 12, that conference is pretty much gone to pasture. If I'm a team in that conference right now, I'm looking to go somewhere else. Edwin talking about the Pullen Weed Eater Bowl. The Duck Commander Bowl was the best one, where the guys from Duck Dynasty are down there with duck calls. They're on the field presenting the trophy. Yeah, that was probably one of the worst bowl things ever. I remember, what was it? The South Carolina played in the Papa John's Bowl, where they ran out of pizza at the stadium. How do you have a pizza sponsor your bowl game and you run out of pizza? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, next week on the show, we have games to pick next week, ladies and gentlemen. We got like what, 4 games next week? I know that sound, and none of them are really great, by the way. None of them are really, really great, but we get actual college football games that mean something. UCLA is going to play Hawaii. That's their tune-up game before they play LSU. I wonder how much they're going to put out on the field to show Coach O and those guys as they prep for their matchup. Hopefully they can, and if you're a UCLA fan, you're hoping they can roll out and beat them senseless in the first half and just coast to a victory and not show LSU anything. But we shall see. Alan says the walk-on bowl. Oh, man. Clemson Tiger Friends says, I'm down for whatever we go to as long as it doesn't change college football in a negative way. You know, things aren't going to be the same anymore, man. It's not going to be that way. It's not the university paying players. It's their ability to get money from endorsements and everything else. That's going to change the way people think. Change the way people think. And you're right. 2 weeks from tomorrow, we will have our opening week, man. I mean, in addition to South Carolina and Eastern Illinois, the opening of the Shane Beamer era, we've also got the Clemson, Georgia matchup, Miami and Alabama. Man, looking so forward to that. 2 weeks out, ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks out. That's where we are. Really, really looking forward to that. Also looking forward to it is my buddy Lawton Swan. He is the founder of Clemson Sports Talk. Yes, he is. Follow him on Twitter at Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Everybody loves the Swan. You can follow him there and get his information that he puts out. It's not just Clemson stuff. If you're not a Bulldog, you can be a Bulldog, Yellow Jacket, whatever. You can listen to Lawton's show and find yourself amused. I hear they are number one with Gamecock fans that are in the closet about it. They don't want to tell people they listen to Clemson Sports Talk, but they do. They love them some Swanee. They really, really love them some Swanee, and you can too. Follow him on Twitter at Clemson Sports. I will be tweeting out throughout the weekend. Got all kinds of things I'm going to get into this weekend. I'm supposed to help my niece move into her dorm at Lander tomorrow, but apparently she's like, nah, I don't want to take my uncle because he'll embarrass me. So I'll just like sit at home and I won't help her move her couch or whatever it is she's got to move in there. I'll just sit in the house and sit in the air condition tomorrow. That's what I'll do. Watch some retro games. That's what I'll watch tomorrow. I'm going to find a Blue Bonnet Bowl and watch that. Maybe I can get that Stanford matchup where they beat Georgia in 1978. That'll be fun. Anyway, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast is up at 5 o'clock. Lawton Swan is next. Thanks for joining me this week. We have actual football games next week, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be fun. We'll see you on Monday on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I'm going to drink some beer. I'm doing trivia tomorrow night at Callaway's in West Columbia. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm doing. I'm hosting trivia tomorrow night. You guys should come out for that. That's going to be fun. Trivia topic tomorrow night is school trivia. It's going to be funny. All right, you guys are awesome. New Rob and Kale show on Sunday night. Get in the contest. If you're not in the contest, I don't want to hear you talking about, I can pick games. I know what I'm talking about. Here's what you do. Go to your couch, dig some change out, okay? And get $20 together, or find a bum and steal his drinking money and get in the damn contest. Go to robandkaleshow.com. Pick your games every week. You might win some money. Just saying. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you later on. Megan, if you don't get in, I don't want to hear nothing from you. We're going to do a live stream that day for the Clemson, Georgia game. We are doing a live stream. Kale's not going to be able to make it down here, but we'll be live streaming for reaction during that game. All right, guys. See you later on.